You're watching Invest Today, and in today's video, we're going to talk about Bitcoin, and it's Monday, October 21st, 2024, and Bitcoin hit a bit of resistance of $69,000, and we're going to dive right into it and see what's going on with it and where it will be heading in the future. And I still think my target is $90,000, so it's still a ways off that, but we're going to look right into it. So in the Fear and Greed Index, we're at 72 right now, so the market's still quite greedy, dominated by Bitcoin and ETH, and then other altcoins. So just hang right in there. Bitcoin has hit a bit of resistance. Okay, we're in Bitcoin here, and we are in the one-day chart. And what it's telling me right now is that Bitcoin is still remaining very, very bullish, and I will explain here in a second. So Bitcoin has had a little bit of a movement up, you can see right there, and that movement up has crossed a very crucial line right there, okay, and broken over, okay? So it's broken over $66,000, which was a bit of resistance, and which was that barrier line, which it's been trying to cross for the last 7 months after it went to all-time high there of 74,000. So if after it went to 74,000, moving back down to 60,000, up back, retesting 72,000, back down all the way to 56,000, moving all the way back up to 72,000, sitting there for a half a month or so before moving very bearish looking, which it really wasn't if you zoom out. It only dropped, well, it was a massive drop because from 72 all the way down to 53,000. So about almost a $20,000 drop to after a almost a $16,000 gain right after, and then dropping another, well, this one hit the bottom in my opinion, okay? In my very humble opinion, that is the bottom right there, $49,123. Okay, after a recession scare and all that, economy going into recession and everything happening, Bitcoin goes with it, and then that's where I believe the bottom is hit. And that was a very technical line as well as a support line for Bitcoin, okay, $49,000, okay? So if we look back where Bitcoin, before it went to all-time high, back in January, it attempted $49,000 and got rejected from there, 49,000 back down to 38,000. So some major buying opportunity right there. So it actually went under the 50 moving average and then bouncing off the 100 moving average, going extremely, well, it was a whipsaw to a all-time high. So Bitcoin tends to do that, and we got to pay attention to that Bitcoin goes to a high very quick, and then it goes to a low. It's been doing that for the last 7-8 months, okay? Now it's broken over that very crucial barrier right there, of, well, $65,800, right around that range. So all it's doing right now, if we zoom in here, it's not even double topped. It's just hit a top of 69,400. We'll call it 69,450. It's hit a top right there, got rejected off that, okay? And I'll explain the rejection here, but all it's doing, okay, let me tell you something. If something gets rejected, it usually moves down very, very quickly to its low support, because the asset is telling you something that it doesn't like that price. It hasn't even, it's moved maybe today 1.5% off its high. Okay, so after getting rejected, it's showing a lot of strength right there. Okay, because if we zoom out here, we'll go to the 1 week chart here. If we zoom out here, first of all, if you watch my last videos, it explains these colored trend lines here, and you can see that Bitcoin is following a trend right there from the bottom, to now. It's been following ever since. After hitting that low of 49,000, it went right to the trend, and that was below the 50 moving average, okay, on the 1 week. So if we go back to the last previous, and I know that the cycles are different, but this cycle is comparable to the 2020 cycle. So I got to take a look at that. And I am, because after Bitcoin hit its all-time high back in 2020 of, well, let's say 64,000, that's why it's acting as major resistance right now and also becoming major support. 69,000 was its previous first all-time high, got rejected. So you can see what major rejection is. This is major rejection right down basically 65,000, and then had a movement almost 10% to 52,000. So almost a $12,000 rejection candle. And then after that, the next week, moving below a major support right there at its previous all-time high, back down to its trend line. Okay. So that's what it did back in 2020 and 2021. So I believe Bitcoin is doing the exact same thing. Okay. It's not rocket science to tell that has bounced off of its trend line, off of its 50 moving average, and now continuing as support, and now broken over a very crucial barrier right there of 64,000, because this is the last cycle bull run. So there's going to be major resistance there. And now it's topping that and it's going over. Hasn't double topped yet because we haven't seen this candle come back up to retest $69,400, $450. But I believe it will. And I believe it will because it's staying very, very high right now. Once Bitcoin gets rejected, it has very large movements down. And this one, you can see here, wasn't a very large movement at all. But we're going to pay attention to that. We're just going to keep watching it, of course, and see, of course, what's happening. But yes, I do see going to that $88,000, $90,000 mark, because I do see the same cycle happening once again, just like 2020, doing the same thing. So right now, just acting as resistance right there of 70,000. Once it breaks over 70,000, I don't think it's going to have a problem now. But that is major support or resistance. Once it breaks over, it could act as major support, because that would be a new high, retesting a new high. I know that it has hit a high there, but that was only 1 or 2 candles. So once it goes back up there, it's going to channel through all that resistance and sit there as support. And $71,800 is what it has to go through in order to get to that $74,000 range. And then once it breaks over that, who knows what's going to happen? More than likely going to do one of these parabolic candles movements and then head directly to $88,000. And this, my friends, is going to be major, major resistance. I tell you right now, it's going to be major, major resistance on a technical term, because you can see that line right there going up is basically on a higher level, crossing that all-time high. So let's take a look at the VIX very quickly. I think the VIX is very important to check out. The VIX hit a very crucial mark here recently on one single scare of a recession call. It hit a very crucial mark of over 65 points, blowing right over the 50 and the 100 moving average right there. Okay, so if we go on the 1-day chart here, okay, you can see how the VIX goes, okay, to each bull run. So the very start of the 2020 bull run, you can see the VIX spiking here and then continuing to spike here. So Bitcoin hitting an all-time high when that happened here too. So Now, in my opinion, Bitcoin's going to go up to an all-time high. It happened back in 2018 where Bitcoin hit an all-time high, and 2015, 2016, right there. Okay. So the VIX, the volatility right now, the volatility level is absolutely astronomical. On the 4-hour chart here, Bitcoin is bouncing off of its 50 moving average on the 4-hour. So that's pretty bullish. It didn't cross below it. It did a little bit, but then receding back up very, very quickly and retesting that 30 moving average. And then once it goes above that 21 moving average, it can actually move higher and probably will then retest and double top or move higher than 69,466. Okay, so that's where it topped right there, and it hasn't now retested. So I'm suspecting Bitcoin to retest that as it bounced off the 50 moving average right there. And you can see that the moving averages still remain bullish. The 21 moving average still on top. And since the price is below it, it wants to come down. But look at the price wanting to come now above. So we'll go into... We'll look a little deeper. We'll look at the 1-hour chart here. Bouncing off the 200 moving average. Okay. So that's what happens when Bitcoin tops out a little bit and then comes down. It falls below the 50 moving average. And then, of course, we're inside the 1 hour. So this is just showing us if Bitcoin is remaining bullish or bearish. And it looks like it's still remaining bullish and wants to retest. All right, so I'm going to look at the RSI very quickly, and you can see right there, look down the bottom of the charts, kind of looks like a Batman symbol. The RSI right here is overbought. Okay, it's in overbought territories. And when it was overbought was when Bitcoin was not at its all-time high yet. So it lagged after, okay, and then went to its all-time high. So we are seeing that again. If we look back where we are right now, we aren't seeing overbought levels. We aren't seeing oversold levels either, but we are seeing the market ready to head up because you can see it's in that same exact territory before it got overbought. Okay, so back there, it's touching the same mark right there at 63 right there on the RSI, and looking like it probably wants to move up from there and then become at those overbought levels once again. All right, well, that's Bitcoin today, and thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.